Hey, parents, greetings. You know what? It is spring. Spring means lots of things. Yeah, it means we ride bike a lot more. It means we can go swimming, we can take walks. But it's also time for the Arizona State test. Yes, and so this little video is just to show what we can do to help our kids be ready for it. That's what it's about. So the question is, how do we rise up to be on the top? How do we do our best? Is it going to be hard? Do I have to study for it? What do I have to do to be successful? Will I get nervous? Should I panic? What should I do to get ready? What do I need to do? Well, that's what we will be talking about, is all those questions of how we do well. What I tell my fourth graders is, you know what? This is a chance for you to show off what you know, to celebrate your learning. And so this little video is just to show how you as parents, how you can help your student just do the best that they can. And probably the biggest thing you can do is just to show that you care, show that it matters, which means you want to have attendance, not only during the whole year when we're getting them to be successful and everything, but especially in the month of March and April when we're actually going to be getting ready to do those tests. Attendance is everything. So sloppy attendance just we can't have during this time of the year. And why does it matter? Well, you know what I tell my students, the results are in your CUME folder, your permanent record, like forever. But even bigger than that, when you do well, it just gives you an air of confidence and success and what you need to do just to be ready for life. Like, you got this, you can do this. And so, if you show that importance of caring at home, that will help us so much, because it really does matter. Success matters. And so I always tell my fourth graders, you know what? Don't get nervous. No, let's just get ready, and we've been getting ready all year long. The test is really just a measure of our success from the whole year. And so it's not a special thing that we're getting ready for. No, we're learning those strategies and skills for life, and the test just measures how far along we are on that journey. So we're going to get ready. So the test covers 4 different areas. Reading, is an important one. So is writing, math, and science. So in reading, there are 2 days of testing for reading, 1 of writing, 2 of math, and then there's 1 day of science, which is really just for, I think, 5th grade and 8th grade. And so to get ready for it, what we do in school is we learn the art of metacognition. What do you have to think? What do you have to think to navigate that test and do your very best? And so that's what we're practicing, is how do we transfer what we know to that state test setting? And so we're learning the little tricks of what we have to think to do well. And so in reading, one of the biggest things I tell my students, and we've been doing it all year long, whenever we read it 3 times. And if you read it out loud, it even makes more sense to you. So students, I really encourage them to read it out loud to yourself. It's like this is tax season too. What do you do if you're reading the directions and they don't make sense? You automatically read it out loud, don't you? Yeah, that's what we do. And then don't just read those words. No, be thinking about every sentence for sense. And did you get it? Did you understand it? Then you need to reread if you don't. And then when you finally read it 3 times, you read the question until you know what the question's asking. It is so easy to not pay attention to the question. And we're going to show that in just a minute. And then what we've learned to do all year long through Common Lit and even ReadWorks is to highlight your proof. Don't ever guess unless you have proof, and then it's not a guess. Then you know what the answer is, and never assume. Assume you think you know is disaster. Are you sure you know? So just assume you might be wrong. And where is that hidden proof? And one thing we'll learn to do too is to get rid of bad answers. There's a spot in the test where you can put red X's on what you know are the bad answers. And that's a beautiful strategy, to get ready for the test. And then once again, check for your proof. Don't assume. Kind of assume you might be wrong, and then keep digging and digging and digging for that proof. And so that's what we're going to learn in the reading one, and we've already been practicing that, and we'll keep doing that too until the test time actually comes. So the link for the state test practice is right there at the very top of Google Classroom. What would we do without Google Classroom? So there it is. So we click on that, and then we go. And in 4th grade, we're doing all 3 grade levels for our test. We're doing the 3rd grade practice test, reading and writing, 4th grade 1, and we're going to do 5th grade 2 if we have time, just to get really good at the metacognition of how do you think on these tests to do well on them. So we're going to click on the 3rd grade one. We did this one just before the break, and you always do the blue arrows to move ahead. And so this article happened to be on why the evergreen trees never lose their leaves. So it was a fable. And so we realized that, if they asked the moral of the story, it's what the whole passage was about. And one cool thing, they have the X thing where you can get rid of bad answers. The story was about 2 trees helped the bird and 3 did not help the bird. And so what was the moral of the story? It wasn't about keeping warm can be different. No. And it wasn't about making new friends can be hard to do. I mean, it was about that too. But the message of the story, the moral, we're down to 2. Sharing adventures with others, a fun part of life, certainly wasn't about that. And yeah, it was showing kindness to others in need is important. That's what the whole story was about. So once again, if we read it out loud 3 times and we think about what the meaning is, that one is easy. There's a lot of questions where they have 2 parts. And the top one, let's see, at the beginning of the passage, the little bird feels what? And if we use the red X, he wasn't surprised. He wasn't curious about unusual trees. And he wasn't calmed by the thought of new friends, because he was, if you read the whole thing and understood it, he was sad about being left behind because his wing was broken and all his friends left him. And so when they have 2 parts, the second one is why? What's your proof, for your answer in A? And so what proves he was sad? Because we are proving the answer for part A. What proves he's sad? Yeah, he couldn't fly away with the others, and he's alone in the cold world. And so once again, you have to really realize that part A answer is proved in part B. And so it's once we know that whole process, that will help us so much. And then once again, to read the question really well, like, hey, what 2 ideas are supported by the picture? These picture ones are tricky because the story was about a sad little bird whose friends left him because he had a broken wing. 3 trees wouldn't help him at all, but 2 did. And so if you're going by the story, A would be a good answer. It has a broken wing and needs help. But the picture doesn't show that. No, picture shows a happy little bird. So when they say, hey, what's shown by the picture? It's like, what does the picture show? Not the text, So we get rid of, it doesn't show broken wing that needs help. It doesn't show he must move away from a birch tree. It doesn't show that either. Does it show a place where he can land? Yeah, because he's in the spruce tree in the picture. And does it show a place where he can be safe among branches? Yeah, he looks pretty safe. Does it show he will have food to eat during the winter? No, because 2 trees helped him. One was the spruce, and the other was the juniper. The juniper had berries. Do you see any berries? No. So tricky. Oh, so tricky. When they ask what's shown by the picture, you look strictly at that picture, and you have to really be careful and think. Word meanings, what does the word mean from sense? You know what we've learned to do? We put in all of these in the sentence and see what makes sense. And we've also learned that don't just look in the passage at where that word is, look at all the sentences where that word is, because that'll tell you what the word boughs means. And this one was simply, can you find the proof? Like the oak tree, what does the oak tree do? Well, you know what? Let's not guess. No, let's go back to where it talks about the oak tree. So I'm looking for the word oak. Yep, here it is. The birch is not strong, said the little bird to itself. I will ask the oak, so great oak, you're so strong, can I stay there till springtime? And then the oak says, in the springtime, that's a long way off. How will I know what you might do during all that time? Birds are always looking for something to eat. You might eat up my acorns. And so highlight that proof. Highlight it. And don't ever assume you think you might know. So what was the oak tree worried about? Yeah, he's worried that the bird's going to eat too much. So there, what we're proving in showing that is, hey, you better go back and find proof. Don't go down lazy lane when you could instead find the proof. Turning point of the passage, that's where it went from bad to good. This one, who told the story? You'd think the bird told the story, but no, it's not told from I did this, I did that, from the point of view of the bird. No, another character told the story. And this helps the reader know the thoughts of who? Well, you'd think it's just a little bird, but nope, it showed the thoughts of the trees, showed the thoughts of the wind, showed the thoughts of King Frost. So all the characters. So once again, did you read it 3 times? Did you really understand it? Or are you going to just guess? That's what we're learning to do. And then once again, 2 statement of what happens at the end. You better have the time and the patience to go back and find that proof. What did happen at the end? It is so easy to just assume and guess. And that's what we've been learning to do from the reading part of the test. So that was the reading part of the test. Now we're on to the writing. We have worked so hard on writing this year, and these are the things we've learned to do well in the writing. Before you even start to gather notes, you look at what the question is. What are you going to be writing about? Because that's what you need to gather notes on. And so then you read it and you take quick notes. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time, so quick notes. And then we write a paragraph about the background, which we're going to show in a minute with hook questions, and we'll look at all of that in just a minute. And then to revise and edit at the end, one of the most painful things, but man, we're getting really good at that. So our chances of doing really well on this is very, very good. If students have a good attitude and want to work and care, they will have it made. Yahoo! Same thing, we click on all those same spots. We're still doing the 3rd grade one. Last week, just before the break, we did the sample writing one. And so once again, step 1 is you see what the question is. See, we have 2 articles to read. We're not going to read them yet because what's the question? The question is, write a multi-paragraph essay expressing your opinion about whether your school should have a pet drive or build a garden of native plants. And so you're going to be looking for proof of that. And so they read the article on meals for pets. Yep, all the evidence. And what they want us to do in the test is use evidence from the article and then building a natural habitat with native plants for the birds. So what do the students do? Well, they read it, they read each article, and based on the question, they took notes. And so down below is where they use all the little writing tools to do the writing. We actually, because these on the practice test will vaporize, they did their writing on Google Classroom. So I'm going to show a few of the students' writing so we can kind of see what do you do to get a really high score in writing? Yeah, that's what we're going to look at next. Socks right off the people who score and rate this test. This is how you write. So all year long, we've been learning to write with a hook. A hook makes the reader want to read it. A hook adds pizzazz. It adds excitement to the reading. And so back on that slideshow thing, the first thing was to add background. Background is everything the reader can see and hear and smell and taste and touch. And so what we've started doing, and oh man, it makes their writing good, is to add just a little paragraph of background to kind of give the setting, a picture. So since Jed is going to be writing about, the 2 things that a 4th grade class could do, either do a food drive for dogs or do the sanctuary for birds, he started out with background on that. Rough. A fluffy, soft, small dog was excited to be welcomed into a beautiful, clean house after waiting in the cold shelter with no friends. He had his first meal in peace after a long time, took a warm, soapy shower, and slept very well in his warm, cozy bed. So he gave us a little picture of the shelter, more so a picture of a dog being adopted, but the shelter. Now he's heading to the sanctuary. In a school not too far away, science teacher Jody West and some students were teaching her students about the environment in their garden with leaves that would shine brighter than the sun. So that was his background. And here's what we really learned to do this year. Have your main idea be in the form of a question. It just makes the reader think, makes the reader want to read it. You could have a boring, telling main idea sentence, but it's not going to knock anyone's socks off. Nope. So his questions are, what do you prefer? A big garden which can provide life-saving food and nutrients to the starved soil and some insects and hungry small birds? Wow, what a good hook that is. Or would you want to do pet food drives and send healthy food and other things to a shelter? And so he has his hook. And then, of course, the biggest thing is your evidence. You want your evidence. You want to use evidence from the article. And he does just that. What's a pet food drive? Once again, he has a powerful question. And then he tells what the pet food drive does. And then, what do you mean by big garden? And then he tells about the garden. And then look at his beautiful conclusion at the end. What operation do you think is better? Is the pet food drive or the garden project? And the reason I think the pet food drive, and he tells why he would want to do the pet food drive, and ends with just asking, who do you prefer? I mean, it's just like, wow, bang up. And we have so many students that have risen to that caliber. One thing I didn't talk about is we also have been working to add vibrant words. Yeah, incredible verbs and nouns and adverbs and adjectives, So he said a fluffy, soft, small dog welcomed into, and, welcomed is a powerful verb, into a beautiful, clean house after waiting in the cold shelter with no friends. Or leaves that would shine brighter than the sun. Yeah, we want to excite the reader. And so that's why we've made the writing, rise up to what it is. And students have come so far in that. And this was just one example of good writing. Again, the list on writing is make sure you know what that question is. Yeah, take notes so you have evidence. When you take notes, you understand the reading better as well. And then that paragraph of background that Jed showed you, and writing hook questions, paragraphs of evidence, and then the conclusion with elaborated evidence. But you're also using vibrant nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, and then to revise for meaning. So many times when we've written something, we think, yep, it's good. No, it's not. You got to read it and get the evidence, and make sure it makes sense is what I was meaning to say. And then those periods and capitals too, which are so important. Well, how about math? Well, I don't teach math right now, but the biggest thing there again is, do you know what that question is? I would say read that question 5 times and at least until you know what that question is saying, and show your work on paper. And then see if it makes number sense. Does your answer make number sense? And that's important as well. And I know all the math teachers are practicing math as well. And so, yes, students can practice. I think, though, if they just practice on their own and maybe get them wrong, I don't know if that practice is helping. I think if you could guide them through the practice and focus on that thinking, that metacognition of, hey, what do you have to do to get this test, to get the answers, the questions on this test, answered correctly. That's what it's all about. So yahoo to all the students at Champion School. And as I said at the beginning, the biggest thing you as parents can do is to show them that you care and support them, and what we can do to just show our success. Yahoo to you all.